Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's meeting of the Assembly Committee on Growth and Infrastructure. Would our committee secretary please call the roll?
Assemblymember Bacchus.
Present.
Brown May. Carter.
Present.
Dickman.
Here.
Gallant. Gurr. Karras.
Here.
Moore. Huen.
Here.
Urick.
Here.
Chair Watts.
And I am here. We do have a quorum. We do have members that are out and about, so please mark them present as they arrive, and mark them absent excused if for any reason they do not make it before our meeting adjourns. Thank you and welcome to everyone joining us today in Carson City as well as in Las Vegas, and anyone joining us by phone as well. A few housekeeping items. If you have electronic devices, please silence those. For anyone wishing to provide testimony or public comment today, please sign in at the table in the back. Provide a business card to our committee staff if you have one. It helps us with our record keeping. Be sure to turn on the microphone before you speak. Clearly state your name for the record every time before you speak, and turn off the microphone once you have finished. We plan to hear, we are hearing 3 bills today. We plan to hear those bills in the order posted on the agenda. So that will be Senate Bill 113, followed by Senate Bill 326, and finally Senate Bill 426. I know Senate Bill 426 has an amendment, and that should be available on the table at the back. So I know there are some folks interested in that. Want to make sure everyone is aware. If anyone would like to provide public comment or testimony by phone today, the number to call is 888-475-4499, and when prompted, provide the meeting ID 818-480-30050, and then press pound. You can find that information on our committee agenda, which is also posted on the Nevada Legislature's website. And we will take public comment at the end of today's meeting. We'll ask folks to limit their public comments to 2 minutes. So, having gotten all of that out of the way, we will go ahead and dive right into our agenda, and I will open the hearing on Senate Bill 113, which revises provisions relating to parking privileges for persons with disabilities. Welcome to the Assembly Committee on Growth and Infrastructure, Senator Steinbeck. Whenever you and your co-presenter are ready, just remember to introduce yourselves and you can proceed.
Thank you, Chairman Watts. I'm John Steinbeck, from Senate District 18. First of all, Chairman, good color of suit today. I appreciate it. Thank you for allowing me to present this bill today. This is SB 113, and this addresses parking privileges for people with disabilities throughout our state. State law provides parking privileges for individuals with disabilities. However, the process of obtaining a special license plate, a parking placard, or parking sticker is limited to certification by a narrow range of medical professionals. Those are licensed physicians, physician assistants, and advanced practice registered nurses. This limitation creates unnecessary hurdles for individuals with disabilities who need these permits for daily mobility and accessibility. Senate Bill 113 aims to expand access to parking privileges for people with disabilities by allowing the addition of occupational therapists and physical therapists. By broadening the scope of medical professionals who can certify applications for special license plates, placards, and stickers, this bill increases the accessibility and streamlines the process for individuals requiring these accommodations. And so physical therapists operate many times as independent practitioners. They are able to assess that a patient just simply has a hard time getting out of the car and getting inside, and there's no sense in sending them over to the doctor to get that authorization. At least that's the way we feel. So this bill really is just a make people's life a little bit easier bill. With me today is Paul Young, and he's going to explain some of this, and also we're joined by physical therapist Susan Priestman in Southern Nevada.
Thank you, Chair Watts, members of the committee. Paul Young with Tom Cross Solutions on behalf of the American Physical Therapy Association Nevada chapter.
make a couple brief comments, and I'll pass it to Susan Priestman, who's the president of that chapter. SB 113 is in a pretty simple form, adding physical therapists and occupational therapists to make it easier for individuals with disabilities. So instead of having to go back to their physician, they just can get it right there and then go to the DMV or what have you. Also, the amendment that came out of the Senate was just in section 21, and it outlines that, someone else at the office might be able to fill out the paperwork to make it just easier again on the staffing and everyone in the process. So with that, I'm going to turn over to Susan Priestman down in Las Vegas, and she'll go through a little bit of the bill as well. Thank you.
Great. Hi, Chair Watts and committee. Thanks for hearing me. My name is Susan Priestman, Priestman. I would have preferred to be with you up in Carson City today, but after about 4 hours at the airport and finally a canceled flight, I decided to see you from here. So anyway.
It wasn't
First of
Southwest
all,
Airlines.
I know it. First of all, I'd like to express my sincere gratitude for the warm reception that the physical therapists who attended our PT Lobby Day in May received. It was a privilege to introduce one of my early mentors, Jack Close, a dedicated PT who served in this assembly for 2 terms in the 90s. Hopefully you've all got one of these balls on your desk. Okay, and as I said, my name is Susan Priestman. I'm the president of the PT Association, APTA Nevada, the American Physical Therapy Association of Nevada. So it's an affiliate of a large organization. So I've been a physical therapist for 40 years and practicing in Nevada for 30. We as physical therapists work in a wide range of settings, including hospitals, post-acute care, such as rehabilitation hospitals, skilled nursing facilities, long-term acute care hospitals where patients recover from major hurdles in their lives. And we also provide care in home health, emergency departments, and outpatient clinics. Physical therapists are all trained at the doctorate level, and we are direct access practitioners. So we see patients directly off the street. And we specialize in orthopedics, neurology, cardiopulmonary care, pelvic health, pediatrics, wound care, and sports medicine, to name a few. Our expertise spans a broad spectrum of disabilities, and this allows us to assess and support patients through every stage of their recovery. I'm here today to discuss Senate Bill 113, which seeks to add physical therapists and occupational therapists to the list of providers authorized to certify patients for a disability placard, sticker, or plate. The passage of this bill would alleviate patient burden and reduce costs for individuals already navigating the challenges of temporary or permanent disability. Currently, the process for obtaining a disability placard is often cumbersome for patients. Typically, a patient must schedule an appointment with a physician to assess functional status and determine eligibility for a placard. Physicians frequently charge fees for completing forms, or they refer the patients directly to the physical therapist to complete the form, but be unable to sign it. As PTs and OTs are not presently authorized to certify disability placards, the form must be returned to the physician for the final review and approval before the patient can submit it. This inefficiency places an unnecessary administrative and financial burden on patients at a time when they're already managing significant physical and emotional stress. Whether the loss of function is permanent or temporary, patients deserve a streamlined, logical process that supports their ability to remain active in the community. Back in November, I participated in a meeting with the PT Regulatory Board to discuss APTA's Nevada intent to include physical therapists as eligible healthcare providers for certifying disability placards. The board was very supportive of this initiative, and has submitted public comment in favor of the change, I think over on the Senate side, and hopefully you have it now. But by expanding the list of authorized practitioners to include physical therapists and occupational therapists, we can reduce unnecessary physician visits and the associated costs while improving access for patients. Most importantly, we can ease the burden on individuals facing mobility challenges, ensuring they receive the support they need without unnecessary obstacles. Thank you for your time and consideration, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about this.
Wonderful. Thank you all very much for the presentation. I will just take a moment to note that whoever represents Southwest Airlines should just be ashamed of themselves. Members, any questions? Assemblymember Brown-May.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. I will second that motion about the Southwest Airlines representation and timeliness and carrier delivery, although that has nothing to do with this bill. I do want to just clarify, as I read through this, it's all specific to section 482 of NRS, which is specific to DMV and the diagnosis of walking disability, which in this chapter I believe states like 200 feet, but it is not a long-term physical diagnosis that would require additional treatment. Does that make sense? It's all about the DMV and just the driver placard.
Paul Young for the record. Thank you for the question, Assemblymember Brown-May. Yes, that's correct.
And if Susan Priestman down in Las Vegas, if I can add, this also has to do with 3 different temporal timeframes. So temporary, intermediate, and permanent. And there are provisions for all of those in this bill.
Thank you. Members, any other questions? All right, it was a good explanation and it's a good bill. Thank you very much for the presentation. We will now accept testimony on Senate Bill 113. We'll start with testimony in support. Anyone wishing to provide testimony in support, please come forward. Seeing nobody coming forward at this time, AVH, would anyone like to provide testimony in support of Senate Bill 113 by phone?
To testify in support of Senate Bill 113, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers to testify in support.
Thank you. We'll now move to testimony in opposition of SB 113. Anyone wishing to provide opposition testimony? Seeing no one coming forward, AVH, can we check the phones once again?
To testify in opposition to Senate Bill 113, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for opposition.
All right, and now we'll move to neutral testimony on Senate Bill 113.
Hello, Chair, committee members. Sean Sever from the Nevada DMV. No impact on SB 113 to the DMV, adding the authority of therapists into DMV's existing policies, procedures, and forms to approve handicap placards and plates can be absorbed into our existing operations. And thanks, and I yield the rest of my time to Bendy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sever. I appreciate that. And yeah, it's interesting. We've just got a lot less fiscal impact. I don't know if it's the legislature that's changing or the department, but I'm sure it's a pleasant change for both of us. Seeing nobody else coming forward in neutral in person, AVH, does anyone want to provide neutral testimony on SB 113 by phone?
To testify in neutral to Senate Bill 113, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. We have no callers for neutral testimony.
All right, would the presenters like to make any closing remarks?
Just said all our people in support were injured and couldn't find parking.
Well played, Senator. Well played.
Did they have their phones with them?
All right. With that, we're going to go ahead and close the hearing on Senate Bill 113. And I will open the hearing on Senate Bill 326, which requires certain public utilities to submit an annual report to the Public Utilities Commission of Nevada relating to the infrastructure of the public utility. Welcome back, Senator Cruz Crawford. Give you a moment to get settled, and when you're ready, please introduce yourself and begin.
Good afternoon, Chair Watts and Vice Chair Carter. My speechwriter here. I'm going to blame him because it said Vice Chair Pazino. I'm like, that's not right. Let's start over again. Good afternoon, Chair Watts and Vice Chair Carter, and also thank you, members of the Committee of Growth and Infrastructure. I'm Senator Cruz Crawford. I am the senator in Senate District 1 in North Las Vegas, and I really appreciate the second opportunity to be in front of you. I do not take that opportunity lightly. The intent behind Senate Bill 326 is to enhance existing reporting requirements for certain smaller regulated water utilities in southern Nevada. The bill will promote public safety by requiring the service providers in Clark County to annually report on the adequacy of their infrastructure, including the ability to provide adequate service for fire protection. With larger service providers and other public entities are overseen by elected boards or otherwise subject to public reporting, existing statute effectively carves out certain water service providers who are subject to more simplified procedures if they serve smaller amounts of customers and will earn smaller revenue thresholds. SB 326 is intended to address this carve-out and applies only to these smaller service providers, specifically in Clark County, who are subject to relaxed oversight under existing laws. With me today is Attorney Matt Morris and also my speechwriter. He's going to quickly outline the provisions of Senate Bill 326 and further discuss the need for the intent behind this important piece of legislation. I will now hand over the presentation to Mr. Morris to walk through the provisions of the bill and the conceptual amendment that we submitted to the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Watts, Vice Chair Carter, members of the committee, Senator Pazina, if you're watching. It's a pleasure to be here and to walk through Senate Bill 326. I do have a brief presentation to go through the provisions of the bill. So the intent behind Senate Bill 326 is to close a reporting gap under existing statute that exempts certain small water service providers in Clark County that serve 3,000 or fewer customers from resource planning and reporting rules that generally apply to other service providers throughout the state. The proposal is limited to those utilities that are not subject to the same integrated resource plan, general rate case, and water conservation plan rules that other entities are required to follow under existing law. So under NRS 704-660 sub 1, publicly regulated water utilities are required to furnish a reasonably adequate supply of water at reasonable pressure for fire protection at reasonable rates. These rates are approved generally by the Public Utilities Commission, which also reviews and approves installation of infrastructure to ensure system and resource adequacy to meet the statutory standard for service delivery. Generally speaking, there are approximately 22,000 customers in Nevada who receive service from a provider that is subject to this standard for adequacy. However, not all service providers are subject to the same reporting and resource planning rules. Service providers that earn more than $1 million annually in revenue are subject to triennial integrated resource planning or IRP rules. IRPs are, by definition, intended to be reviewed by the public. They identify the service provider's current and projected service requirements, water supply, water rights, storage, transmission, and related issues. But smaller providers are not required to file an IRP if they don't meet that $1 million revenue threshold, even though they're subject to the same minimum adequacy standards as other large providers. Additionally, service providers that earn more than $2 million in revenue and that serve more than 3,000 customers are subject to general rate case rules that require the service provider to justify and obtain approval for any proposed rate changes. Just like IRPs, general rate cases involve solicitation of public comment, technical expert testimony, and other features that are meant to facilitate public review and input. Smaller providers are not subject to this requirement and instead benefit from simplified procedures for rate changes that do not involve the same level of public review and participation. And finally, most service providers are also required to submit a water conservation plan under NRS 704662. This particular filing is required to provide an opportunity for interested parties to submit written views and recommendations on the plan, which must be generally available for public inspection and comment. And again, smaller providers, which are subject to the simplified procedures that we're dealing with today, are not strictly subject to this requirement. So these various exemptions and relaxed reporting standards create a gap whereby certain smaller service providers, which are still bound to provide the same level of reasonably adequate service, are not subject to the same level of public review and input. Non-regulated entities that provide water service, such as general improvement districts and other quasi-governmental entities or political subdivisions, are subject to public reporting requirements, and their governing boards are elected. So their constituents and their customers have a mechanism to hold the entity accountable for mismanagement or for poor service delivery. So SB 326 seeks to close this reporting gap for smaller water service providers by requiring an annual report to the PUC that describes the service provider's infrastructure adequacy, including specifically the utility's ability to ensure service for fire protection, which again is the minimum standard for service delivery under existing law. The bill does not alter or expand this standard. It simply requires smaller, privately owned utilities in Clark County to report on their ability to meet this standard. Given other carve-outs for these entities, this reporting provides a reasonable method for the public to review the adequacy of the utility's infrastructure to supply basic service. Should regulators determine that other reporting is necessary to serve the public interest, SB 326 affords regulators with the discretion to adopt other reporting requirements as needed. I just want to reemphasize that these changes do not apply to larger water utilities that are not subject to the relaxed, simplified regulatory and reporting rules, nor do these changes apply to governmental entities or political subdivisions that provide water service. These changes would only apply to a select number of smaller operators in Clark County that currently are subject to less stringent reporting and resource planning requirements. So that is section 1 of the bill requires this annual report to the PUC on infrastructure adequacy. And with that, I will close the presentation and happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members, any questions for our presenters? Assemblymember Dickman.
Thank you so much, Chair, and thanks for this presentation. Just a quick question. Do you have any idea, rough number of how many of these small providers there might be that would be affected by this?
So Matt Morris, for the record, thank you for the question through you, Chair. There are 5 in Clark County that are identified in the Public Utilities Commission biennial report. Of those 5, we think that there are 2 that meet the service connection threshold that this would apply to.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Great question. I was wondering the same thing. Members, any additional questions? Assemblymember Gallant.
I forgot, thank you, Chair. I forgot what it was like to be in here. So thank you for bringing this bill forward. And I think it's an important legislation, but I'm wondering if you could give some backstory about like what made you kind of get here and want to put forward this legislation and protect the constituents in these types of communities?
Sure. Matt Morris for the record. Thank you for the question. So we actually represent a client, a developer that has been working with a utility in Clark County for several years to try to advance housing development. And in part because of the lack of reporting and lack of the availability of information on the infrastructure adequacy and the sufficiency to provide service, that process has taken much longer than it should. As we've developed this legislation, we've also learned that there are similar problems with similar types of entities that are not regulated utilities. Those are not covered by this bill, but we think that as a matter of transparency, these smaller entities that are responsible for providing service to businesses, customers, schools, they should be subject to similar reporting as other larger water utilities are across the state.
And Chair, Senator Cruz Crawford for the record, and my favorite Vice Chair Carter to Gallant. I, as a legislator, this piece of legislation spoke to me because there are schools and there are prisons that are affected, and I have had my water turned off at my school through work, and it's been a nightmare. So I just wanted to, at public safety aspect wise, make sure that we're taking care of our community. So that's why that spoke to me. Thank you.
So I appreciate this. Like, I've got, just to share, like, I have Laughlin in my district, and apparently they've been on a building moratorium for 10 years, but nobody knew about it until a couple of years ago. So I think it's really important for the water districts to have to disclose in some way, shape, or form. I don't think Laughlin would be covered under this, but I think it's bringing forward a bigger issue for developers and maybe looking at some additional disclosures down the line. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for providing that personal context. I thought you were just extremely interested in the nuances of utility regulation, but
Chair, Senator Cruz Crawford for the record, when the BDR came out about regulating utilities, I walked into my front office that day and I had about 20 lobbyists at my door, so thank you.
yeah, a welcome to the legislature moment for sure. Members, any additional questions? All right, seeing none, thank you very much for the presentation. With that, we'll now move to testimony. We'll begin with testimony in support of Senate Bill 326. If anyone would like to provide testimony in support of this bill, either in Carson City or Las Vegas, please come forward. Seeing nobody at this time, AVH, would anyone like to provide testimony on SB 326 by phone?
Chair, the public line is open and working, but we have no callers at this time.
All right, we'll move to testimony in opposition of SB 326. Anyone in person? Seeing no one coming forward, AVH, is the line still empty?
We still have no callers for opposition.
All right, let's move to testimony in neutral. It looks like Mr. Severs disappeared. Seeing no one coming forward, AVH, can we check the line once again?
We have no callers for neutral.
All right, would the presenters like to make any closing remarks? Okay, and with no other commentary either, we'll close the hearing on SB 326. I will now open the hearing on SB 426, which establishes provisions relating to the Lake Tahoe Basin Scenic Byway Corridor Recreation Safety Zone. Wow, that's a mouthful. And we'll welcome TRPA to the table. Go ahead and begin whenever you're ready. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Watts. Thank you, Vice Chair Carter, and committee members and staff. I am Julie Reagan, the Executive Director of the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency. Senator Daly may be joining us in just a bit, but we'll get started, and if he pops in, perfect timing. Perfect timing. Right there.
They were about to skip right past you, Senator.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Skip Daly for the record, representing Senate District 13. I have lots of help here. I may sit back and let Devin come back over here and walk through what we're trying to do on Senate Bill 426. Started out as a different bill. We amended it down because the part that we wanted to do on the assessment for room night stays, California didn't introduce the same thing on their side. There was no sense in trying to have that fight here if we would have to wait another 2 years for California to match. So we went in a different track. We'd always been thinking about the parking, the transportation issue, how to fund the Tahoe Transportation District, which is in the compact. So we worked with as many people as we can to try to get to this. I have an amendment, which I showed the chair earlier, you guys should have it, regarding an issue on the people on the East Shore corridor about the traffic diet on Highway 50, where they wanted to narrow the lanes for a period of time, and I thought that was a bad idea the whole time. DOT finally dropped it. They were concerned that the traffic calming language in the bill would potentially allow someone to do that, and I said, no, we'll make sure that that's not the case. So with that, I would let Julie or Devin walk through the rest of the bill. They know it much closer than I do. But I've been working with them, and I'm hoping we can get at least this part done, because it will make the roads, if you've been up there to Lake Tahoe in the summertime, and the parking alongside of the roads, all illegal parking, but there's no place else to go. So we're trying to alleviate that, create other places for people to go, and then get them the micro-transportation in a way to fund that down to the recreation areas and make it a lot safer for everybody. That's the goal.
Thank you. Thank
I'll
you,
let-
Chair Daly. And good afternoon again, Julie Reagan for the record. My last name is spelled Regan. I'm the Executive Director of the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency, and joining me today, Devin Middlebrook to my left, our Government Affairs Manager, and to my right is Jim Marino, Executive Director for the Tahoe Transportation District, our partner agency. And again, thank you, Senator Daly, for the introduction of the hearing today on SB 426, and really for your leadership for Tahoe in the interim session and beyond. The Assembly Growth and Infrastructure Committee heard from us at the beginning of this session about our transportation role at Tahoe and our current priorities. Just as a reminder, TRPA, our agency, serves as the Metropolitan Planning Organization, MPO, acronym for the Tahoe region, and as part of that responsibility, we develop and adopt regional transportation plans, which guides the overall transportation vision, goals, and policies for the Tahoe Basin for our region. Our regional transportation goals include reducing traffic, congestion, and to increase safety and the quality of the recreation experience at Tahoe. And today's hearing, as Senator Daly said, on SB 426 would support one key aspect of transportation at Tahoe: recreation access and parking. One of the priorities we are most frequently asked by the public to address, which I'm sure you'll hear about today, is traffic, illegal parking, and safety at Tahoe's popular recreation areas. As you can see from the images on screen, Tahoe's highways near recreation sites become quite dangerous during summer months when visitors and residents park in any available space to get to the beach or to a trail. And I want to point out, for the record, that our organization, the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency, does not have law enforcement authority, nor do we own land and are not recreation providers. So we must partner on these matters, and that is part of the story of Tahoe, is our partnership, success, and collaboration. In 2014, going back more than a decade, TRPA and our partners developed a corridor management plan framework for the basin, breaking the lake into segments or corridors so that we can plan very discreetly for different impacts and different effects. The corridor management plans for each segment are implementation roadmaps, making our regional transportation more than just a vision, but actually turning that into reality. So specifically in terms of what we're here to discuss today, in particular, the SR 28 State Route 28 Corridor Plan in Nevada dates back beyond this framework, even in conversations that have been going on for decades and decades about the safety issues around Sand Harbor and all the way from Spooner Summit to Washoe County Incline Village area. This trail project was not just a trail, and that's the East Shore Trail that starts in Incline and goes to Sand Harbor, but it also included the removal of dangerous and illegal roadside parking. It also now includes successful transportation and transit from Incline to Sand Harbor during summer months, improved roadway safety and stormwater management for water quality to prevent pollution from reaching the waters of Lake Tahoe. And I know it's impossible to read that map, but the key message of that slide is that we've got several segments that are specific and discrete projects. So the goal is to connect the entire Nevada corridor from Crystal Bay, Incline Village, all the way down to State Line on the South Shore, and have a unified plan of how we manage those independent segments. Additional projects to extend the trail, manage parking, increase safety, expand transit, and treat stormwater pollution are being implemented from Sand Harbor to Spooner Summit over the next several years with different timelines. The goal of these transportation and recreation improvements is not to attract more visitors to Tahoe, and I really want to emphasize that point. The goal is to better manage the visitation already occurring in the area, improve public safety, and reduce environmental impacts to protect Lake Tahoe. The roadways convey a lot of sediment pollution into our lake. I will now turn it over to Jim Marino to walk through the bill text and provide more context as to why the proposed bill is important for the Tahoe region and to the Tahoe Transportation District in particular.
Thank you, Julie. Good afternoon, Chair Watts, Vice Chair Carter, committee members. For the record, my name is Jim Marino, that's M-A-R-I-N-O, and I'm the acting director of the Tahoe Transportation District, or TTD for short. A little backstory on TTD. TTD was created via Article 9 of the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency's Bi-State Compact, and generally we are responsible for facilitating, planning, and implementing transportation projects introduced within the Regional Transportation Plan, as well as providing public transit services in both California and Nevada. In partnership with over 13 different agencies, TTD has taken lead in development and implementation of multiple transportation projects specified on the Nevada SR 28 Corridor Management Plan. And today we are in the design phase for several large-scale projects that will construct off-highway parking and transit facilities, pedestrian crosswalks, multi-use paths, and on-highway vista points located primarily on U.S. Forest Service land and NDOT right-of-way in the next several years. Senate Bill 426, as amended and passed by the Senate, will provide the additional tools needed to increase safety on our recreation highway corridor and manage off-highway parking so that the public can safely and sustainably enjoy Lake Tahoe. Section 1.1 of the bill establishes the Lake Tahoe Scenic Byway Recreation Corridor Zone on Nevada highways directly connected to recreation sites along State Route 28, 207, 431, and U.S. Highway 50 corridors. Section 1.2 of the bill gives the authority to local law enforcement and the Nevada Department of Transportation to proactively manage on-highway parking, including the use of traffic control devices and traffic calming measures to prohibit or restrict shoulder parking and prohibit or restrict unsafe stopping of vehicles. It is important to note that this section of the bill does not give the Tahoe Transportation District the authority to manage on-highway parking. That is left to the appropriate law enforcement agency and the Department of Transportation. Prior to today's hearing, we heard questions from the public about what the intention behind potential traffic calming measures might be. Simply, traffic calming within the zones is intended to provide warnings and safety to transit users, pedestrians, and cyclists along the corridor. This slide shows some examples of the type of simple traffic calming measures we propose to utilize. The image on the left is of an existing TTD bus stop that was installed on SR 28. Last year, this was painted red to clearly mark the area as a no stopping zone for vehicles. As you'll note, this is also a turnout, which provides transit pullover out of the travel lane, so it's a safe, protected area to drop folks off at the recreation trails. The image in the center is a simple variable speed limit sign on Mount Rose Highway 431. This is used in the winter months to adjust the speed limit due to the high recreation areas of sledding and winter activities. And the image on the right provides a plan for a pedestrian crosswalk connecting parking on the mountainside of SR 28, which is known as the Chimney Beach Project, to the lakeside trails. Advanced flashing beacon activation is intended to slow vehicle speeds prior to vehicles approaching pedestrians in the crosswalk. And to directly address public comments you might receive today, there is no intention or provision in the proposed bill that would allow the number of travel lanes to be be reduced on US 50. To this end, Senator Daley has brought forward the following proposed amendment to Section 8 of the bill and the definition of traffic calming. The conceptual amendment is on this slide in green, and the amendment reads that the term traffic calming does not include any traffic calming measures or combination of measures that reduce the existing number of travel lanes in either direction on US Highway 50. Moving on, Section 1.3 of the bill relates to the management of off-highway parking lots and only off-highway parking lots. Currently, under state law, if an off-highway parking lot is within the NDOT right-of-way, that parking lot must remain free to use. However, to manage recreation access and parking, paid lots are a key tool and strategy. Off-highway parking provides safe spaces for vehicles and access to trails and are built to offset parking being eliminated from the highway shoulders. They are not being constructed to provide additional parking capacity within the zone. This section also allows local law enforcement and the state to partner with the Tahoe Transportation District to charge for and manage the off-highway parking lots. Revenue from paid parking shall be reinvested into the site-specific operations and maintenance and enhance transportation and public transit options in the corridor. The remainder of this section adds qualifications to the staff operating the parking areas to ensure that management is done fairly and by trained staff, not contracted to private third-party contractors. And finally, paid parking can only be implemented once the alternative access through trails or transit is provided to the nearby recreation site. In other words, we cannot charge for parking until we have the capital infrastructure in place to provide the safe access. This is to ensure equitable access to Tahoe for all Nevadans. I want to share some examples of current planned off-highway parking lots within the proposed recreation zone. Beginning on the upper left, TTD and our partners constructed the Bonanza parking lot, the north end of SR 28 corridor. This lot is located on NDOT parcels and currently serves public access to the East Shore Trail, Tahoe Rim Trail, and other hiking and cycling recreation sites. This site is also a transit stop for the East Shore Express, which operates seasonally to move people from Incline Village to Sand Harbor State Park. Moving to the right is the Chimney Beach parking lot. Nearing completion and expected to open this summer, this lot is an expansion from the existing 30 dirt spaces on the mountainside of the highway to 130 paved parking spaces with restrooms and a crosswalk. This project was led by the U.S. Forest Service. In the lower left, we show the concept plans for an extension of the Ponderosa lot that TTD will be constructing next summer. This lot is contained within the NDOT right-of-way and, as you might notice, provides a safe, off-highway parking and a walkway for people that are currently using the shoulder in that area. Finally, the lower right shows an area of US Highway 50 in which Douglas County worked with NDOT and the Douglas County School District to eliminate dangerous on-highway parking at the Zephyr Cove area and provide safe, accessible parking at the school site during summer months. In summary, this bill is important for the Tahoe region for several reasons. It will help us better manage parking and congestion and improve safety and recreational access. Additionally, by reducing on-highway parking, public safety and emergency response will be supported. And again, this bill does not, and there is no intention of reducing the number of travel lanes on US 50, a top community concern related to evacuation and public safety that we have heard. The bill also allows for the reinvestment of the parking revenue to maintain and operate the infrastructure constructed, creating a self-sustaining system. And finally, all of this will ultimately protect Lake Tahoe. In closing, I'd like to turn this presentation back over to Senator Daley and would be happy to address any questions that the committee may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, Skip Daly for the record. Just a couple of comments after the presentation. So the version that you have on Nellis is the LCB version of the amendment that we talked about. A couple of things. It's like a chicken and the egg almost on this. When we had the interim committee on the TRPA over the summer, we can pass all the rules and laws and stuff that we want. If there's no enforcement of it, it becomes a problem. And what we were told repeatedly is that if you can get a sheriff or if you can get the highway patrol up there to actually cite some of these people, when they actually got to court on the ticket, the judge or whoever it was would say, they have no place else to go. What do you want me to do? To either reduce or waive the fine. So until we can get something in place where we have an alternative, have an actual Tahoe Transportation District personnel to write the tickets and get some enforcement, maybe put up some of the, not narrowing the lanes, but barricades so they can't actually park alongside the roadway. We have to start somewhere with all of this. And then on that as well, one of the things that was important to me, the original draft of this was to say that they were gonna be able to hire a vendor and that there couldn't be any incentives for the vendor to write more tickets because they got paid off the tickets. I said, no, you can't even hire a vendor. They have to be your employees. So they'll be employees at Tahoe Transportation District. So no outsourcing on that. I think those are the only comments that I have based on the presentation. Thank them again. I told you they would do better than I did on, or could on this. And we do need to move forward. If you've been to Tahoe in the summer, and I hope you all get a chance to go, that parking on the side of the road is an issue for the people visiting and the people that live there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator. I think this is the longest bill presentation I've ever seen from you. But it was very well done. And as somebody who has visited Tahoe on several occasions and over several summers, I have seen those issues firsthand. And I think that this is, while there's a lot of detail and thought that went into the bill and the presentation, I think the overall idea is clear, which is we know that it is a fantastic place and people want to visit, and we want to enable that. And so what that means is we need to create more capacity where folks can find places to park and travel around without parking on the side of the road. And then once we do that, maybe get a little enforcement to help make sure that those roadways are clear, and that is in the best interest of the safety and well-being of visitors and residents alike. So, members, any questions? Assemblymember Dickman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for this bill. I mean, especially thank you for that amendment. Made me feel much better about, not reducing the 4 lanes. But the chicken and the egg thing that you just mentioned, Senator. So you said that the judges were throwing them out or taking away their fines because where else are they going to go? What else are they going to do? Does that mean that maybe we would hold off with fining people until we have some solutions in place?
Devin Middlebrook, Tahoe Regional Planning Agency, for the record, MIDDLEBROOK. Thank you for the question. That's exactly what we thought through with this bill, and one of the requirements is they can't start charging for the parking or writing the tickets for parking until those alternatives are in place. So we have proactively addressed that through the bill language.
Awesome. I just wanted that on the record. Thank you so much. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Assemblymember Karas.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chair. This was quite the presentation. I concede the vast need. I have one question. Because it looks like you have several areas where there's going to be parking in various spots along the lake. So you're a young family, you don't have a lot of money, and you want to go to all 4 or 5 different wonderful, beautiful spots in one day. Are there going to be any allocations for maybe a day pass so you can go from one parking lot to another parking lot rather than a young family spending the lunch that they would have had by the lake on instead having peanut butter and jelly because they can't pay for the parking?
Chair, thank you, and Assemblymember Karas. Julie Reagan for the record, Tahoe Regional Planning Agency. I'll start and then turn it over to my colleague, Mr. Marino, to add specifics around the segments and the plans. Just in general, I think we all are really concerned about equity and access to abundant public lands at the lake. 90%, you've heard from me in previous presentations, about 90% in the whole basin is either the U.S. Forest Service, state of Nevada, state of California, or local municipalities. And so we want people to enjoy their public lands, but we want them to be enjoyed safely in a manner that is open to all. And that's a big challenge because we're a very small, rural, full-time population base with a limited tax basis. So we're hoping that through this collaboration and the partnership, that we can devise systems that people can take advantage of, whether it's a pilot this summer, for example, on Emerald Bay, the 89, the equivalent challenge from Nevada across the lake on the west shore is happening, and we are launching a very affordable pilot shuttle to Emerald Bay just to test that out. So there's a number of things that folks that are in the basin are operating under a destination stewardship plan to look at how we can ensure equitable access for all, but still take care of the resource. But top of mind for us is providing that opportunity, because TRPA has 10 environmental threshold standards, water quality, air quality, but recreation is also one of them. And providing a safe and enjoyable quality recreation experience is something that we are all working toward diligently. But specifically in terms of the segments, I'll let Mr. Marino address that.
Thank you, Julie. For the record, Jim Marino, Executive Director, Tahoe Transportation District. Thank you for the question. Our intent is, as this infrastructure is built out, both multimodal trails, sidewalk access, and parking lot, that we would also run transit in the corridor, public transit to and from each location. So each location serves as a sort of transit hub, if you will. And so the thought would be for a person that wants to visit multiple locations within the corridor, that public transit would suit that need. Currently, public transit we are operating on the Nevada SR 28 corridor is free to the public, and we don't see that changing anytime in the future.
If I can real quick. So the original bill and the version with the per night staying fee was meant to go to the transportation district to fund the micro transit, the buses, which is currently free, as I understand, like you said. So the goal would be you go to one parking spot and then you take that transit from place to place. You have to get people confident that it's going to be quick, and that they're not going to have to wait too long, and they're going to be able to get there and get back to their car. And all of that takes time to build up and money and various things. So the goal would be to have them only have to park one time, right? And then get that built up. And we'll have other opportunities for that in the future, I'm sure. But for now, we got to start somewhere. And I think this is a step in the right direction. We'll get some things done, I hope.
Thank you for such thorough answers. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Yes, it was a thorough answer. All right, members, any additional questions? Assemblymember Urick.
Thank you, Chair. Less of a question, more of just a statement of appreciation for that amendment. I was continuing to hear from folks about the issue of the lane reduction, so that clarification just goes a long way, and so I appreciate the efforts in working with those folks to accommodate that.
Skip Daly again for the record, Mr. Chair. All along, I've been against the traffic diet. I thought it was a bad idea. We finally got DOT off of it and everything. The lady that came in and asked me about it and had her idea, and I said, let me take care of it. I'll take care of it for you. This ain't my first time. I know how to do it. So I think we hit on the mark that we were doing. I asked LCB to help me get that language. So it was never anybody's intent. So any conspiracy theory people out there about this was the intent was never the intent.
Okay, let's not get anyone riled up here, Senator. But I know that I think that was a concern that many of us heard, and so we really appreciate you bringing forward that amendment to make this extremely clear in the proposed statutory language. Members, any additional questions? All right, seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We will now move to testimony on Senate Bill 426. Since I know there are some folks that are interested, just a quick rundown of our rules for testimony. Support is to support the bill as it's been written, or in this case, since they have brought forward the additional amendment to this bill, your position on the bill with that amendment. Opposition means you oppose the bill. So if you would like additional changes, that is testimony in opposition. Neutral is testimony that is neither in support or opposition and is generally just to provide some additional information on the issue for the members of this committee. So we will begin with testimony in support of Senate Bill 426. Anyone wishing to provide testimony in support in person, please come forward. Welcome, sir. Please remember to state and spell your name for the record. You may begin.
Thank you, Chair Watts and committee members. My name is Andy Chapman, that is C-H-A-P-M-A-N, and I'm the president and CEO of Travel North Tahoe, Nevada, which is the official destination management organization for the Nevada side of North Lake Tahoe. I also serve the community as the current board chair of the Tahoe Transportation District. However, today I am also here as a 35-year resident of the Tahoe Basin who have seen firsthand the chaos and dangers of an unmanaged recreation corridor such as State Route 28. We've seen a concerning rise in near-miss accidents caused by vehicles parked precariously along the shoulders, particularly during peak season when traffic can increase tenfold. SB 426 offers a critical solution by enabling effective parking management. By establishing designated parking areas and ensuring consistent enforcement, we can prevent hazardous parking situations that compromise safety. Furthermore, the ability to collect parking fees provides a dedicated funding source that can be reinvested in improving the transportation infrastructure and mitigating the environmental impacts of traffic in this sensitive corridor. Managed parking will also improve traffic flow, reduce pedestrian vehicle incidents, and improve safety along this critical recreation corridor. I am also here today on behalf of the Tahoe Chamber, its board of directors, and the many businesses in the Tahoe Basin in support of SB 426. The Tahoe Chamber provided written support to this committee earlier this week. Travel North Tahoe, Nevada, and the Tahoe Chamber believe SB 426 is a vital step in addressing these urgent issues, excuse me, and aligns with the broader goals of preserving and protecting the environmental integrity of Lake Tahoe for all users of this national treasure. We encourage you to vote yes on SB 426, and thank you for your time and support on this important legislation.
Thank you very much. All right. Anyone else that would like to provide testimony in support, please come forward and fill the seats.
Good afternoon, members. My name is James Gansinger, James Gansinger. I'm appearing as a concerned resident of Zephyr Cove, Nevada. And I just want to tell you all that I really appreciate the hard work that's been done, the preparation of this bill. And I really, really want to thank Senator Daley, who turned my voice and vote from a neutral position on this bill to a 100% and unequivocal support for this bill as amended by Senator Daley's amendment. So thank you very much. Vote yes on this bill as amended. Thank you.
For the record, Janet Murphy. Thank you, Chairman Watts. I see Vice Chair had left, and the distinguished rest of the legislatures here. And I'd most like to thank Senator Daley for working with me, and you also as well. For those who don't know me, some do, some don't. I'm the administrator of Tahoe Douglas Utility District for 33 years. That encompasses 90% of the East Shore. So if anybody knows the highway, I do. I was on the fire board, and thank you, because that is our bloodline. That is our artery. It's the only 4 lanes through the whole entire lake. So thank you so much, Senator Daley. Can't thank you enough. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Mike Smart, for the record. I'm a citizen. Like the other speakers, I don't know if they were against it or neutral, but I was against it because of the, before I read the amendment, and now I'm for it. Thank you for your efforts on this and for hearing us and making the adjustment that we asked for. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, seeing nobody else coming forward in Carson City, seeing no one in Las Vegas, AVH, would anyone like to provide testimony in support of Senate Bill 426 by phone?
To testify in support for Senate Bill 426, please press *9 to take your place in the queue.
Good afternoon. My name is Brett Tibbetts, Tibbitts. In 2022 and 2023, TRPA tried to reduce Highway 50 to 2 travel lanes in many areas from 4 lanes in order to add a multimodal bike path and other paths on Highway 50. Governor Lombardo and the NDOT board said no to the TRPA plans in November 2023. Douglas County declared Highway 50 a 4-lane evacuation route in March 2024. TRPA came back this year wanting to declare that Highway 50 is no longer a federal highway, I guess, but a regional recreational byway. So I don't think our concern about TRPA's intentions here is conspiracy. By passing this bill before today's amendment, we could very well have created the next Paradise, California, Lahaina, Pacific Palisades, or Altadena. The TRPA is constantly trying to get more tourists and development into Tahoe. Tahoe currently receives at least 15 million visitors a year. Do you know how many visitors Yosemite receives? 3.9 million. How about Yellowstone? 4.7 million. How about the Grand Canyon? 5 million. So Tahoe receives more visitors than Yosemite, Yellowstone, and Grand Canyon combined. Please try to wrap your head around that one. I certainly can't. We are forever grateful and thankful for Senator Skip Daly's amendment to keep the number of travel lanes on Highway 50 as currently comprised and embodying that in this bill. And as a result of that, we wholeheartedly support this measure. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Next caller, please.
Yes, this is Dana Tibbetts in Cave Rock, and I'm delighted with the improvements to this bill and support it. But I do have a couple of concerns that I'd like to share with you. It seems to me that this bill empowers an undefined network of agencies to enter into unspecified agreements to enforce and enact some pretty vague and open-ended measures without public process, without legislative oversight or accountability. And some of these safety measures seem more like hallucinations than policy. And they also seem to prioritize perceptions and non-motorized safety over some of the real world traffic, driver and evacuation challenges that we have. But the real thing that is sticking in my craw, if you will, is the rebranding of a federal highway as the Lake Tahoe Basin Scenic Byway. It seems like a Trojan horse, and like you'd have to be living in 1950 to propose something that that's out of step with what we are. A highway is a multi-lane artery engineered to move mass traffic safely and efficiently for tourists, residents, and evacuees. And a scenic byway is something else entirely. It's a less used, narrow, meandering road for leisurely drives. And I don't know about you, but I think there's one of those that fits and one of those that doesn't. And I just want to keep in mind that Tahoe's not a postcard, it's a population center sitting in a wildfire tinderbox. So I don't really understand the new designation as being a sort of realistic approach to handling our real highway problems, because we're not a byway. SB 426 was on tap to enshrine the idea that you can simultaneously increase tourism, remove traffic lanes, and narrow roads and still evacuate safely. But thanks to the amendment, Senator Daley, thank you very much. That seems not to be the plan, but I still am concerned about this conflating of objectives that don't really make sense together, and I'd hate to see the basin become a death trap because of it. But with that said, I thank you for the changes you've made and endorse the bill otherwise. Thank you.
Chair, the public lines are open and working. We have no more callers for support at this time.
All right, thank you. We'll now move to testimony in opposition of Senate Bill 426. Anyone wishing to provide testimony in opposition, please come forward.
Elizabeth Learnhardt. I'm a concerned Zephyr Cove resident, and I am pleased with the changes, last-minute changes, and pleased with the fact that my statement, as I have it, is now mute. There are some major concerns that I still have, because the agencies that currently regulate Highway 50 as it runs as a Lincoln Highway through Zephyr Cove and the lake have not been part of this discussion. They're not here. NDOT, the Federal Highway Association, the sheriff, NHP, have not given us their input. But an agency that's mainly concerned with tourism and with PR have presented to you a very beautiful, glossy solution. Some of the solutions they presented are not theirs. For example, with George Whittle High School has had a pilot program last year where they used the little road and the school parking for people during the summer months. They have made a tremendous impact with that, taking people off the road. They are charging them up to $100 a day. That is a concern for the holidays, but people are willingly paying it. Has it reduced some of the on-road parking? I hate to say, it's a revolving door. We know NDOT built a parking lot at Round Hill. The only effect it had the next year is that people are parking now on the other side of the road, which they haven't parked before. So, as Brad Tippett said, it is a tremendous pressure from tourists that are coming here for day recreation to find parking. And it's a financial constraint. The more we build, the more there will be. That seems to be the message we've had. Can it be done? I think what we heard in the Oversight Committee last year from Sand Harbor and the Department of Natural Resources, they have a remote scheduling and canceling where they can access certain amounts 90 days, 60 days, 30 days, and same day. And I think that might be a better solution. This is not unique. Tourist centers all over the world have that. Yes, we do need something like a microtransit, but I don't have the time to tell you how that's not working in Zephyr Cove and in Douglas County, because we do have it, except it's not serving us. It goes to California, and we are paying for it. So it needs to be, this is a primordial bill. I'm not against it. I think it needs to be solved, but not in a hurry like this. Thank you for your attention.
Hi, my name is Guy Donnell, D-A-N-N-E-H-L. I represent the Tahoe Area Naturists. We're a group that's been active in the conservation and maintaining of the East Shore Forest for over 40 years. You'd be hard-pressed to find another individual who's been in this forest more than I have for the last 10 years. The bill is ostensibly to fix the Highway 28 corridor and parking issues, but there's nothing outside of more parking restrictions that we all know aren't being enforced at this time. There's current restrictions on this highway to park, no parking zones, and they're not being enforced. the picture that TTD put up here, or TRPA, of the parking there, all those cars there are parked now illegally. No fines are issued, no tickets have been issued. This is continual, has been continued for the past 5 years. Before that, we had some enforcement there, and there was parking banned on the mountainside of the highway, but now all those signs have been taken down. It's hard for me to I hate to say this, but if you intentionally wanted to mess this up, you couldn't have done it any better than it's been done. The problem here is that even with parking lots, like there's a large parking lot in Sand Harbor, okay? Most of the people that are parking illegally along this highway wanted to go there. They're not equipped to make the strenuous hike down to the small beaches along the east shore, and most certainly aren't equipped to come back. Because of that, we have numerous EMT calls every year to come rescue people out of the forests. The other thing we have, last year, tragically, 2 people died down there. It's not a recreational public beach area. It's the last natural area of this lake that isn't encumbered by development or privately owned.
And sir, if you can begin to wrap up your remarks. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the time. Okay, I would just like to say, what I believe is this bill should be tabled. And we can hold hearings and meetings of all the stakeholders here, the Forest Service, the Nevada State Parks, TTD, NDOT, and we can get together and try to hammer out a real solution. But right now, what we'd like to see is the present laws enforced.
My name is John Eppolito. I've been a North Shore resident for about 29 years. The first 2 years I lived there, I taught public school, and then the last 27 years I've been selling real estate on the North Shore, both states. The last 4 summers have been the busiest summers on the North Shore. We have too many people now.
Right.
And the problem, I agree with a lot of what the 2 people that spoke before me said. There's already too many people coming to the basin. On the North Shore, we don't have 4-lane roads to get out. We don't have a 4-lane road until you get to Highway 50. 2 years ago, I saw a California Department of Transportation study that said Kings Beach, because they turned Kings Beach from 4 lanes to 2 lanes, that said Kings Beach was at maximum capacity, I think it was 9 to 5 for 8 consecutive weeks through the summer. If you don't believe it, drive up there. Before you do all this, drive up there and see what it's like in the summertime, especially on the weekend. There's too many people now, and we have all these people trying to get more tourists there and trying to get more people there. I can appreciate that parking is a problem, and there's not near enough parking for this trail either. This is like 3 minutes from my house. When I want to use the trail, I go there at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, wear a jacket and do what I got to do, and I'm out of there. There's not near enough parking. The trail is beautiful, there's no question about that. But what we're all concerned about is the last report I saw to evacuate the basin in case of a fire was 12 to 14 hours. It's only going to be 1 or 2 hours until a whole bunch of people are burnt up. 12 to 14 hours is not acceptable. If we want to do all this get all these more tourists there, get a lot more people there, we need 4-lane roads. We need a bunch more 4-lane roads to get out, so when there is a fire, we don't all die. For the first, 15 years, I used to tell clients, real estate clients, the Tahoe Basin is not going to be overdeveloped because of TRPA. The TRPA has lost their way. Now they're into city planning, bringing tourists in. They used to be about, if you want to build a deck, it's going to be hard, about keeping the lake clean. They've lost their vision. It's about money now. The people at the end of Lakeshore that took out hundreds of truckloads
Sir,
of dirt.
can you wrap up your remarks?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
So I noticed you weren't timing other people. You let them talk as long as they wanted when they were saying what you wanted to hear.
I've let people go on,
No.
but you've already gone well past the 2
Okay.
minutes. So I
don't see it.
I give
Okay.
you a little bit of leeway,
Okay.
but you're over 2.5
So-
minutes. So that's when I ask you to wrap it up,
Yes,
please.
sir. I'll do that. So what I was looking at was the Paradise Fire, the Lahaina Fire, the Pacific Palisades Fire, the Washoe Valley fire from last summer, none of those places except maybe Paradise have near the fuel we have in the basin. We need to focus on getting us out of there in case of a fire, not bringing more people up there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Seeing no one else coming forward at this time, AVH, would anyone like to provide opposition testimony to Senate Bill 426 by phone?
Testify in opposition to Senate Bill 426. Please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Yes, hello. My name is Pamela Sigdenis. I'm a resident of Washoe, Tahoe. Like others who have called in today, I would ask that you please not approve this plan in its current form. It is premature. You have heard conflicting messages today. The TRPA staff told you they are not building these parking lots to create new demand for Tahoe. Yet the Travel North Tahoe executive told you that he is very much interested in finding ways to bring more people into Tahoe. There will be advertising for these parking lots, so someone is not telling the truth. I also ask you to consider the new public safety challenges and traffic backups that these parking lots will create. We just got Sand Harbor reservation system in place, and that is allowing a better understanding of how to move cars across Highway 28. Now, once Sand Harbor's reservation is in place, you've created new demand for people to come to the parking lots along the East Shore. This plan is poorly architected. The parking lots are also across the road from the lake. The number of people who will be trying to cross Highway 28 will create new danger for visitors and those residents who need to use Highway 28 to reach doctor appointments and other important normal transit. Furthermore, there has been no consideration to wildfire evacuation for residents and visitors alike. Again, I want to underscore, we all love Tahoe. Please, let's not create another Paradise, Lahaina, or any other wildfire from Palisades on down. We have understood now the challenges of living in a place that could potentially cause life safety harm. Please do not approve this amendment and this bill. It needs more time. It needs more study. Thank you.
Chair, we have no more callers for opposition at this time.
Thank you. We'll now move to testimony in neutral on Senate Bill 426. Welcome. We'll go with Ms. Hanson first, neutral testimony. This is exciting.
Neutral testimony is very unusual for me. Janine Hanson, and I'm speaking for myself today. I love Tahoe. I've spent every summer of my life there. My grandparents had property there. My brother developed Club Tahoe, and I have 2 timeshare units there, and I've taken all my children and my grandchildren there. I love Tahoe, and I'm very thankful to Senator Daley for the amendment to ensure that Highway 50 is open. I have been in many a traffic jam at Lake Tahoe, and it is scary when you think about fire. I live in an area in Elko where we've had 2 fires, and so it is frightening to consider fires, and that is a terrible danger at Lake Tahoe. I think it's very important. I have read the bill. I don't feel like I have enough information to be for or against it, but there are still concerns that need to be addressed, and I appreciate the fact that this will be an open question to continue to talk about. But I did want to say how much I appreciated the amendment and the fact that there are many people looking at this issue, and it's a very important one. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I won't probably be back in neutral again.
Steve Dolan, resident of the North Shore for 33 years. I want to thank Senator Daley for his amendment because that's putting a little bit more real picture on this issue. First, Assemblymember Karras, one thing that I've learned using the transit system that is in question regarding the poorer families and the free ride, I can tell you when that first started 6-7 years ago for Sand Harbor, it was free for 1 year. Then the price went up. Then the price went up. Then the bills came out and the price went down. So I'll leave you to figure out how that works. The next thing is that on the North Shore and all around the lake, insurance is being canceled all around it because there are too many people and there's not enough escape route and not enough infrastructure to even fight the fire once it starts, if it starts, or when it starts. That's a big problem. I'm neutral because off-road parking right now is important. The addition to parking is important. But I'm against it in the sense that the TRPA seems to have a methodology here in which once they say they've added parking, which doesn't take care of the problem, it just tickles it, then they say, now we want to bring in the world. And the density gets more and more deeper. It's harder to negotiate all the travel that you've heard people talking about around the lake. So there's a little bit of a exchange of ideas that get disguised here from time to time. But I'm still neutral because I like the parking, you know. It won't solve new clients, which is the goal of the chamber and, you know, the TRPA at this moment. It hasn't always been, but for now it is. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Seeing nobody else coming forward in Carson City or Las Vegas at this time, AVH, would anyone like to provide neutral testimony on SB 426 by phone?
Chair, we have no callers for neutral at this time.
Thank you. Would the presenter like to make any closing remarks?
Devin Middlebrook, TRPA for the record. Thank you, Chair. Just in response to some of the public comment you heard, obviously everyone very passionate about Tahoe and the challenges we face. The designation for US Highway 50, this proposed bill does not change the designation of that as a federal US highway. You can think of this recreation corridor safety zone as an overlay on that just gives the finer grained detailed definition of those zones at Tahoe. It doesn't change the designation of US Highway 50. There was mention of engagement with stakeholders and that not occurring. I do want to let everyone know that we have engaged with both Washoe County and Washoe and Douglas County Sheriff on this bill, and they're supportive of the language. Douglas County Commissioners had the request of no lane reductions, which has been integrated into the amendment. We've also worked with Nevada Department of Transportation on this language. The East Shore Express, that transit route, that is free and has remained free and continues to remain free. And then again, with more people, more parking, more people, just for example, that Chimney Beach parking lot that was shown on one of our slides is opening. As part of the permit conditions for that from TRPA, we require that before that parking lot can open, no parking, no stopping signs are installed on the highway near that parking lot, so we're not just adding more parking. We literally made that a permit condition that they get that highway parking off, not just adding more parking. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Skip Daly for the record, representing Senate District 13. And I would just say, you know, thank you for the people that came up. We do need to address this issue, and as far as the TRPA's mission, none of that is being changed by this. They still have their same, all of the processes are in place that they have to follow. The public comment or input, we had, I think, 7 or 8 TRPA meetings. This is where this bill came from, was the TRPA interim committee recommendations. Parking was an issue. The on-road parking was an issue. The impacts to the people that live there because of the parking on the road was an issue. So we're trying to address that. with this bill. And I'm happy with the amendment too.
All right, thank you very much. With that, we'll close the hearing on Senate Bill 426. We'll move on to the last item on our agenda for today, which is public comment. If anyone would like to make public comment, either here or in Las Vegas, please come forward. Seeing no one coming forward at this time, AVH, would anyone like to make public comment by phone?
If you would like to provide public comment, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, the public lines are open and working. We have no callers choosing to provide public comment at this time.
All right, thank you. That concludes our business for today. Our next meeting will be on Thursday, May 8th at 1:30 p.m. Thank you. We are adjourned.